Records of the Trypillian culture. The Trypillian culture existed for 2,700 years, from 5,400 to 2,700 BC. 6,000 years ago they began to use the wheel, the first cities in the world with streets, quarters, and central squares. For the first time they built two-story houses. For the first time in the world they created centralized production of ceramics and tools in special workshops. They developed an agricultural system that fed up to 1 million people in cities of up to 25,000 inhabitants. For 500 years, from 4,100 to 3,600 BC, Trypillian cities were the largest in the world. The largest city, Talianky, covered about 5 square kilometers, had 2,700 houses and 25,000 residents, the greatest concentration of cities and the highest population density in the world. More than 3,000 Trypillian settlements are known, of which 500 were larger than 10 hectares, 150 larger than 50 hectares, 60 larger than 100 hectares, 20 larger than 200 hectares, and 5 exceeded 300 hectares. At that time, the largest cities outside the Trypillian culture were Uruk, 250 hectares, Eridu, 80 hectares, Susa, 50 hectares, while others were even smaller. When 1 million people lived within the territory of the Trypillian culture in Ukraine, Mesopotamia had 500,000, Egypt 300,000, Anatolia 100,000, all of India 1 million, and China 500,000. The largest residential houses in the world had an area of up to 600 square meters. The largest two-story public building in the world had a ground floor area of 1,200 square meters and a total area of about 2,000 square meters. There were also public buildings with areas up to 300 square meters. The largest industrial buildings in the world had areas up to 200 square meters. The first houses in the world whose walls were painted, as well as stoves and floors. They cultivated the greatest variety of agricultural plants in Europe and the greatest variety of cereals, including 3 types of wheat. The largest granaries in Europe and the greatest number of granaries. Because of the great number of household items and types of economic activity, the Trypillians may have had the largest vocabulary in Europe, up to 10,000 words, some of which may be preserved in the Ukrainian language. Mass use of clay in construction. Up to 10 tons of clay were used for one house. Ancient chemical technologies allowed them to create paints that have survived for 6,000 years. A developed textile industry. Spindle whorls, loom weights, and imprints of fabrics on clay surfaces are found at settlements. The most complex ceramics in Europe. Clay was dissolved in water and impurities removed. Jugs were painted. There were large vessels up to 1 meter high, as well as thin-walled kitchenware. Some ceramics were standardized, which indicates the presence of wooden templates for making pottery. The most complex ovens in Europe had compartments for firewood, a surface for cooking food, and a separate surface for drying products. The technology of coating wooden frames with clay in buildings has survived to this day. They mass-produced ropes and cords which fastened large wooden beams in buildings. Houses had complex wooden constructions, gabled roofs, floor coverings between stories, stairs to the second floor. In some houses, the floors had large clay slabs. This was ceramic tile. They made copper axes, knives, awls, ornaments. They had one of the best metallurgical industries in Europe. Stone axes were polished. Holes were drilled in hard rocks. They had the most advanced technology of stone tool production in Europe. They conducted trade, which allowed flint from Volhynia and shale from Galicia to spread across the entire territory of the Trypillian culture. They had musical instruments. Archaeologists found ceramic whistles. They mass-produced ceramic models of dwellings. Houses had pits that may have been refrigerators.